Lori Grimes didn't die in childbirth. She died running, her daughter in her arms, while the world burned behind her. In the chaos of the governor's assault on the prison, Lori was shot in the back, and as she fell, she never let go of Judith. Both of them were gone before they hit the ground. It's a moment so tragic, so horrifying that AMC couldn't bring themselves to adapt it. Instead, they gave us something softer and cleaner, a version where Judith instead lives and Lori dies trying to bring her into the world. But in Robert Kirkman's comics, that's not how the story goes. There's no redemption, no safety, just lost and brutal unflinching. And that's what made it real. This is the story AMC could never show you. The story of Lori and Judith Grimes and how their deaths in the comics changed everything. Before the apocalypse, Lori Grimes was the ultimate picture of normalcy. A mother, a wife, a woman doing her best to hold her family together. She wasn't a fighter or a strategist or some hardened survivor. She was just human. In the comics, Lori's story begins the same way as it does in the show. She believes Rick is dead after he's shot in the line of duty. The world collapses, and in her grief, she turns to Shane for comfort. But when Rick miraculously returns, that secret becomes a burden that she can't shake. When AMC's Lori, played by Sarah Wayne Callies, was often portrayed as conflicted and reactionary, her comic counterpart felt quieter, more reflective. She wasn't written to be controversial, she was written to be real. A woman trying to make sense of love, guilt, and survival when none of it makes sense anymore. And for a while, it almost feels like she succeeds. The Grimes family becomes the emotional center of the apocalypse, the thing that reminds us what humanity used to look like. But The Walking Dead was never meant to let peace last, not for long at least. Because beneath every moment of safety, there's always something coming. And for Lori Grimes, that something was guilt, fear, and the weight of a world no mother could protect her child from. After Rick's return, Lori's world doesn't just shift, it fractures. What was once love becomes confusion, what was once relief becomes guilt. She's trapped between two worlds, the one where Shane saved her, and the one where Rick came back. In the comics, this guilt isn't just a subplot, it's the weight that defines her. When Lori discovers she's pregnant, that guilt grows into fear. Fear of what kind of world she's bringing a child into. Fear that it might not even be Rick's, and fear that no matter who the father is, she won't be able to protect them. While AMC's version focused on the tension between Rick and Shane, two men fighting for control, the comics quietly centered on Lori's inner war. She wasn't worried about who she loved more. She was terrified of what she was becoming. Every survivor in The Walking Dead breaks in their own way. For Lori, it wasn't from loss, it was from knowing that love alone wasn't enough anymore. And when the group finds the prison, for the first time, it feels like maybe she could start to forgive herself. But in The Walking Dead, every moment of peace is just a setup for heartbreak. The prison was supposed to be a fresh start, a place where Rick's group could finally rest, build something resembling a home again, and for a little while, they did do that. In the comics, Lori gives birth safely to Judith inside those prison walls. It's one of the few truly hopeful moments in The Walking Dead. It's a sign that maybe life can still win, even in a world built on death. For the first time in a long time, Lori isn't just surviving. She's living. She's holding her daughter, surrounded by people she trusts. It's fragile, but it's still peace. Now, AMC took a completely different approach with this. Lori's story ends much earlier, during childbirth, as she sacrifices herself to bring Judith into the world. It's emotional, it's brutal, but it's clean. It's one death, one heartbreak, and a little more to it because Carl is the one having to do some of that. The comics, though, did not let her off that easy. Lori lived long enough to feel hope again, which made what came next feel crueler. Because in The Walking Dead, hope isn't the reward, it's the setup, the quiet before everything falls apart. The prison felt safe until it wasn't. When the governor attacked, it wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. The walls came down, bullets ripped through the air, people who had survived everything suddenly didn't. In the comics, Lori runs through the chaos, holding Judith tight against her chest. Her only thought is to keep her baby safe and follow Rick and Carl, not herself, not the others, just Judith. And then it happens. She's shot in the back by Lily Call, one of the governor's soldiers. Lori falls forward, still clutching Judith, and in that instant, both of them were gone. It's not drawn for shock, it's drawn like grief frozen in time, a mother dying with her child in her arms. There's no monologue, no goodbye, just the sound of everything collapsing around them. The hope of the prison, gone in a single panel. In AMC's version, Judith lives. They did do a little bit of a a tease as if she might have died, but we do know she lives. She becomes the light that carries Rick and Carl through the darkness, but in the comics there just is no light. The apocalypse takes everything, even the smallest sign of innocence. Now, quick pause, would you have wanted to have seen this moment adapted, or do you think AMC did the right thing by leaving it buried in the pages of the comics? Either way, when the gunfire stopped, the silence was louder than the war. Lori and Judith were gone, and what was left of Rick and Carl was barely human. In the comics, this loss completely breaks Rick. He spirals into isolation, hearing voices, talking to a disconnected phone as if Lori were still alive. To the outsiders, it might look like madness, but to Rick, it's all he has left. Those moments on the phone, that eerie calm, they're not about denial. They're about a man trying to hold on to his wife's voice, because letting go means admitting she's gone. Carl, though, didn't get that luxury. He's forced to grow up instantly. The boy who once looked to his parents for safety now walks beside his father through death and snow, numb, angry, and hardened. This is the point where The Walking Dead stops being about survival, and it becomes about what it costs to survive. AMC hinted at this grief. Rick did have phone hallucinations. His breakdown after Lori's death was a big part of that arc. But in the comics, it's not just grief, it's trauma, and the kind that never really leaves. When Lori and Judith died, the world didn't just lose a mother and a daughter. It lost the last piece of innocence Rick and Carl both had left. AMC made a choice to end Lori's story completely differently and spare Judith's life entirely. In the show, Lori dies giving birth. It's raw, it's painful, but at least it's contained. She goes out in an act of sacrifice. It's her final moment filled with love, and Judith somehow lives. That one creative decision changed the entire emotional core of The Walking Dead. Because when Judith survives, she becomes something that never existed in the comics, a symbol of hope. She's living proof that life can still grow from death, that love still matters in the world that's lost it. Honestly, it's easy to forget how dark The Walking Dead could have been if AMC had followed the comics exactly. If Judith had died in Lori's arms, Rick's story might have never come back from that. And Carl's, he may have turned into something much colder, much sooner. So instead of tragedy, the show leaned into redemption. Rick fought harder because Judith lived. She became the one thing he couldn't lose no matter what, the light that kept him human. In a way, AMC didn't rewrite Lori's death. They rewrote what it meant. From despair to hope, from loss to legacy. The story they told wasn't about what the apocalypse takes. It's about what we could choose to protect. The deaths of Lori and Judith Grimes marked a turning point for The Walking Dead, not just in terms of the story, but in what the story was trying to say. In the comics, their deaths were the moment innocence truly died. It was the world's way of reminding everyone there are no exceptions, no main characters, no guarantees. The apocalypse takes everyone eventually. Their loss symbolized the death of humanity's illusion of safety, a message that survival has a cost, and sometimes that cost is just unbearable. AMC's version chose a different message. Instead of erasing innocence, it preserved it. Judith became more of an embodiment of everything worth fighting for, a child born in chaos who managed to bring out the best in those around her. The contrast, the death versus survival, despair versus hope, is what defines The Walking Dead as a whole. It's not just about who lives and who dies, it's about what those moments say. Kirkman's comics forced us to confront the truth that love doesn't always save you. AMC's adaptation reminded us that sometimes it's the one thing that does. In the comics, Lori and Judith die together. A mother's arm becomes a grave, and from that moment on, The Walking Dead was just never the same. In the show, Judith lives. She grows up, and she carries her mother's memory and her father's strength into a world that somehow kept turning, a world that still had something left to fight for. Two versions of the same story, one built on tragedy, the other built on hope. And maybe that's the point. The comics showed us what happens when the world takes everything from you. The show reminded us that sometimes it gives something back. Both stories end in loss, but both remind us why we cared about The Walking Dead in the first place. It was never really about the apocalypse. It was about the people who we loved and what we do to protect them. In one world, Lori died with her daughter in her arms. In another, that daughter lived to carry her legacy, and that single difference changed everything. Special shout out to our brand new members. Seriously, it helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos, but if you'd like to become a brand new member, the link to do so is right after the subscribe button. It will change to a join button. You could also find it linked in the description right under the like button.